So Jake Munro is an OG goth YouTuber from a decade ago who's recently transitioned into an alt-right pipeline. But that explanation does not do the story justice in the slightest, so stick around if you'd like to see just how unhinged this man has become, or in my opinion, always has been. Because it's a rather honestly interesting story, and there are some genuine elements of power dynamics, coercion, manipulation, and in regards to his current content, politics, that I feel like I can really add to the conversation about. Before that though, I know I've threatened my cats before in order to ask for subscriptions, but I'm stepping it up now. This here is Sugar, and I want you to look into her eyes and acknowledge that if you do not subscribe right now, you will be responsible for the murder of this poor cat. So I'm granting you permission to avert your eyes momentarily purely for the purpose of smashing that subscribe button. And now that you've done all that, she may be spared. Currently. And believe me, if you don't think I'll do it, I've got 2 other kittens that I can use as leverage too, so don't test me. Get subscribed to the channel, baby. Alright, now on to business. Here is Jake Munro's channel in its current state. His current description is alt-right nationalist goth fighting the woke matriarchy and alternative subcultures. I dread to think what is on that Twitter or Instagram, or Spotify even, because he makes music as well, and it's about as shit as you'd imagine. Naz, for the sake of copyright, play one of his songs, but only like 2 seconds of it. And then, we don't even need to watch these videos, you can see the 2 most recent ones, What Happens to Women, and then Narcissistic Women Are Destroying Everything. And that one's members only, so, I mean, who could resist an offer like that? Especially for only £5 a month, woo! Nelly! I mean, an Apple TV subscription is also £5 a month, so safe to say I'm going to be cancelling mine as soon as possible so I can watch masterpieces such as How to Fight Against Them. And once again, there's just women in the thumbnail. Ah, this one's an incredible one. Women are the problem. I feel like we actually need to give that one a watch later on because I'm just imagining how unhinged what he says in it is. I think you'll soon find out why he has such a disdain for women though, because he got, there was a huge drama a few years back where he divorced, well, there was a divorce after like a 12-year marriage with a wife of his, and then he made like a breakup video where he accuses her of a bunch of really horrible shit. Then she made an alternative breakup video where she sort of combated a lot of these claims and people ended up siding with her more so than him, and I don't think he likes that people are calling him out for being a massive piece of shit. So yeah, basically a woman talked back to him and now he is a huge arsehole. I say that, he was always a huge arsehole, as you'll soon find out. Anyway, he used to be a massive commentary YouTuber, sort of in line with creators or groups such as My Digital Escape, which we've talked about previously on this channel with Johnny Gilbert, I think his name is. There's a lot of association with them, Eugenia Cooney, Jeffree Star, that kind of content. Also the Social Repose, which, that's a whole other can of worms. In fact, I think every single person I've just mentioned, it has a whole heap of controversy surrounding them. The videos he was most popular for, though, was just sort of reacting to TikToks, which was very much in fashion 5 years ago. You know, especially when you looked rather unique and, I don't know, maybe the editing here is really good or he gives really great commentary. Let's watch one, shall we? Oh, he also does Linkin Park covers, because of course he does.
Little hearts underneath my eyes, just like I said I would.
Oh yeah, also, so I should have given a trigger warning. He is British, just so you know. Which I know I am too, but you know that by now, so not as much warning is needed. Also, I feel like it's less triggering when the accent is fake, which mine is, by the way. Like, this is all just for a bit of uniqueness to the channel, I feel. If y'all want me to use my real accent later on, then just tell me.
Now you can stop counting. You know what's actually impossible? It's impossible to cover the entire e-girl, e-boy subculture in a single video, so I decided to do another one. You all had so much fun watching the last one. I thought maybe I should provide another one for you guys to enjoy, and I won't be doing this alone this time because I restocked more delightful Spanish wine.
Okay, I think he's got his very quick cuts. It's very, very 5-6 years ago. This is him reacting to TikTok e-girls, by the way. Why does he hate women so much? His whole career is watching women. The videos that have made him the most money are videos that would not have existed unless there were very popular women online. And also, one of the reasons he's so successful and well known is because of the joint channel he had with his wife, who, you know, I don't mean to spoil anything here, happens to be a woman. There's a 50 facts about me video, which is actually quite pertinent to today, even though it was 10 years ago, because every mother and their dog was making a 50 facts about me video 10 years ago.
After several bad experiences, I prefer not to have close friends.
That's the most important one, because when we watch the breakup videos later on, this is something that comes up a lot. He's basically fucking Batman, right? Who's been traumatized by close friends, and now he doesn't want them anymore. It's like when a 14-year-old gets, like, broken up with, I guess, and now they just hate hate women forever. It's very melodramatic, it's very bullshit, it's very just shut the fuck up, mate, who do you think you are? You need to get a grip. But it's also very edgy 10-year ago goth on YouTube. There's also a very interesting My School Experience video from around this time, which will be important later too.
So in primary school, it wasn't really a bad problem. Like, I had best friends, and I wasn't particularly, like, ostracized or treated any different. I think mainly the real problem came in when I went to secondary school or high school. In my school, at least in Green Hill, there were two different sides to each year. There were two bands. There was the X band and there was the Y band. So I knew this going to secondary school, and I was like, oh my god, what if I don't like get in with my friends? And they're like, no. They always make sure that you stay with your friends. My luck have it that all of my friends went into X. All of my friends went into X, and I went into Y. Anyways, the year goes on. Obviously I make a few new friends, one or two here and there. Well, these friends that I had, I was always the one who had to do the calling and like go up to them during lunch and break time and see what they were doing. And it was weird. Like, if I didn't call them, or I didn't message them when the internet was the thing, they would never talk to me. And that would be it. There'd be friendship over. Anyway, so as this went on, I discovered after the age of like 11, 12. When I became like 13, 14, I was like, holy shit, I like rock music, I like metal, I like long hair, I like black clothes. But it was around here that it started. I was like, oh my god, I don't fit in with any groups. There's no people in the school that I fit in with now. And it wasn't until the year after that I discovered there actually is like a group of outcast kids who like listen to Nirvana and wear like Nirvana t-shirts and have like long hair and ripped jeans. So I got talking to one of them and I was like, yeah, I just want to hang out with you guys. I want to be part of this group. I feel as though I fit in with you guys. And the guy was like, no. So after a while I sort of worked my way in and I became part of the group, but that never actually changed any of the problems that I was originally having. Now I was being ostracized by these people. Instead of the general school, now I was being ostracized by the people that I thought I could fit in with. I was especially ostracized by the guys in the group. This was actually confirmed for me, so if you're thinking this is all speculation, a couple of years ago, good, like 5 years ago now, I was talking to a girl that I actually used to go to school with, and she was actually like, yeah, they didn't like you. I was like, well, why didn't they like me? All I ever tried to do was just like, try and impress them and be like, hey, look, I can play guitar really well, and hey, let's make a band together, and you know what, you guys can party at this place I found, and let's go do this. And they were just like, no, you just shut up, Jake. And she was like, what? Well, they were jealous of you. I can't honestly think of anything that I did that would have deemed me honestly, legitimately annoying. So like she said, it must have just been jealousy. So fast forward.
I think it was because he was really fucking annoying. I don't know, man. I feel like if people in school don't like you, a lot of the time it's not like bullies don't bully just because they're jealous of you. I feel like that's a myth that gets thrown around so much. Like, sometimes you're just a fucking weirdo loser. Obviously, no one deserves bullied or you know, to be alone like that, I guess, but he probably was a bit of a weirdo loser. So interesting as well that even by his own admission, it was the guys in the class mainly that were like leaving him out and taking the piss out of him. But now he holds all this resentment for women. It's like, no, the men were the ones bullying you your whole life. Why do you hate the fucking women so much? I guess when the internet just doesn't like you anymore, it is just that easy to fall into a right-wing grifting stage. I've said this before, and people call me out on it, but I genuinely believe that I could right-wing grift myself into a room with JD Vance by the end of the year. I could be the token black guy as well. They would eat that shit up, man. They would love me. And they'd all use me as like the one and only reason as to why they're not racist. No, we're not racist. We have Jesse over on our side, and we love him because he agrees with everything that we say. Also, he hates himself and his race. Could be best friends with Jake Munro as well. Honestly, it's becoming quite tempting, actually, the more I talk about it, so I'm gonna let this video play out before I convince myself.
End of the school year, and we've all agreed that we're gonna burn our bags, I'm gonna burn our school books and school uniform. So I go to the beach. They've given me the wrong time, location, I don't know, there was no one there. Do you know what? One other friend was with me, and he was just sort of like, oh no, they've told me, well, my friend, they told my friend, not me, that they're actually like on the hill, and they're not doing that. They're gonna do it later or something. And I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna see these jerks again. I just sat there on the beach, I took off my school bag, put it on the floor, took a match, burned my bag. I made a vow to myself on that beach that that was just it. I was done. I'm not gonna bother with people's approval anymore. Fast forward about a year. I'm in college. Why didn't I go to a local college like all of the other kids were? Like I said, because I made a vow never to see those jerks again. So I went to the furthest away college I could possibly find and just meet completely new people. So as the college year went on, as the first and second year, it was only a 2-year course, I became like progressively more and more goth. Goth in the fashion sense, not the music sense. I became like cyber goth. I was wearing like white face paint. And like, that was where people drew the line and they were like, not friends with you anymore. No, I tried to make a band. I tried to make a band in a music college and I could not make a band. In fact, I actually had some people make fun of me blatantly to my face. And I was so adamant of trying to make people like me that I wouldn't even be like, fuck you for making fun of me. I was like, okay, well, if that's what you want to say. So the general consensus with everyone around me was that I was weird.
Now, on a real, I am taking the piss, but this is actually, like, this was 11 years ago, whatever. It seems like he was a lot more normal here than he is now, or at least he was better at presenting as normal. When I say normal, I mean sympathetic, I guess. But yeah, on a real, this level of like ostracization and loneliness and bullying is wrong, right, for sure. And I'm sure it isn't all completely self-inflicted. Like, it's not his fault that he's being bullied, right? Bullying sucks. Bullies suck. And I'm not gonna make too many assumptions as to whether or not he was a weird arsehole loser kid who deserved a bit of a, you know, just maybe a one bang to the face or something, because there were definitely some kids in my school who did deserve that, and usually received it, and a little bit more, but that's a story for another day. Because let me tell you, I've been on both ends of that stiff bang at different points in my life, and all those situations, well, most of them were justified. Both directed to me and from me.
Huge screen in front of everyone. He's like, yeah, I made this animation. I was like, oh, I'm in the animation. How cool. I've never been fucking included in anything, and he thought of me for this animation. How nice. Anyway, so I started watching this animation, and it gradually became apparent that this was not favorable to my character. It turns out, this is me, and then this is Charlie. Oh, hey, Jake, how's it going, man? Oh, you know, I'm just kind of really sad and down and just emo and stuff, you know? It's kind of just so sad and I wish I would die. Yeah, he animated this guy that I was friends with to shoot my head off, and my head exploded and I died. And I had to be a good sport about it. I had to sit there and just sort of laugh it off, like, ha ha ha, but inside I was like, that really hurt. And to this day, I still think about that, and I was mortified.
That is, you know how insane that is, like, next level, that is like level 100 bullying. This is like a black belt bully. That is like, an insane amount of effort to put in just to rip the piss out of somebody. That's worse than being, like, beaten up, to be honest with you. Because getting beaten up by someone who's, like, way bigger than you, it's no effort on their part. Well, they can just fucking do what they want, but that takes effort. A whole animation just to hurt your feelings. Fuck, that's rough. I can't say I feel bad for him after what we know about him now, but it's still pretty rough. Again, interesting that it was a man who did that to him as well, but women are ruining everything. We need more bullying and isolation in British schools and colleges, and less acceptance. Not saying that girls cannot be bullies in school, by the way, or that men can't be accepting. I'm just purely going off of his experience and what he's detailing. Yeah, but there's a lot of this on his channel. I'm not going to go over it too much, but you got this video here, top 5 worst things to ever happen to me, in the sections friend group, social torture, and school. He just talks more about how he was a fucking loser and no one liked him. This is like a huge part of his content, which I guess makes sense for a goth YouTube channel, because a lot of the reason as to why goths become goth is because they feel left out. They feel sort of ostracized and different in a way. And the only place where you don't feel as different and lonely is in a community of people who look and feel the exact same way as you. Not exact same way, but similar, right? You get the idea. There's also a whole bunch of other bits of information, like it, I think stemming from the post-punk movement. It's also very anti-establishment, very anti-authoritarian, and very accepting of alternative ideologies, such as, you know, LGBTQ community. That's why traditionally, most goth people are very anti-racist and anti-homophobia. Not for him, I guess. Led to many coining him as some sort of, like, fake goth, which, I mean, I'm not saying... Fuck it. Yeah, I subscribe to that idea. He's absolutely a fake goth. Being a goth isn't just about painting silly things on your face and dyeing your hair. It's like alternative subcultures 101, man. It's not all just visual. It's like when certain men pine for like a big titty goth GF, and it's like, mate, you are literally MAGA. No one's going to like you. No one with dyed hair or a choker is going to touch you with a 10-foot barge pole. If we're talking what it actually means to be goth, I'm more goth than this motherfucker. And look at me.
I was still the unpopular kid within this group. You know, you had like the leader guy and the popular girl who sort of, they were the ones who said where the parties were and what weekends we were going to be going down the beach.
It's incredible. It's so tragic, really. It's just, oh, my heart breaks for this poor man. And then there's even more just emo bullshit in his 3 biggest fears videos, where he talks about looking stupid, not being good enough, and not achieving anything. This video is 3 minutes 50 seconds long. Are we gonna watch it, or do we know everything that we need to from those wee subtitles? I think he's know the answer, so we're moving on. Here's where we get into the actual important content now, which is where Jake Munro meets his ex-wife now, Kaya. Not to be confused with cooking with Kaya on TikTok. I don't think he'd like her very much for, I mean, do I even need to say?
Basically, we ended up having a conversation, because my best friend was a girl who was a lesbian. And as well as that, a lot of my friends in college were also just on the spectrum, like no one was completely straight. So then that made me start thinking, what am I? And we had this conversation about sexuality, where mine, hers. Anyway, it turns out that I might actually like dudes. I grew up in this very sort of sheltered village where there were no gay people at all. Well, there were gay people, but no one was outwardly saying that they were gay. So I was like, ooh, this is very interesting. I started looking at other people differently. I started looking at guys differently. I started looking at them objectively. Because I wouldn't say I was definitely 50-50. I think maybe it would be I am sexually attracted, but not romantically. I think that's ultimately what this is. So I'm online. I'm on Bebo. It's a defunct, dead social media. And I met this guy. I met this emo dude. So I started talking to the guy. And we started chatting. And it turns out that he was into guys too. And I was like, well, maybe this will be a good way to explore this new part of myself without really having to commit to anything. So anyway, talking to him, things start getting a little more amped up. Not explicitly sexual, I don't think. I can't remember, honestly. I don't think there was an exchange of explicit pictures. I honestly don't think that was the case. It got to the point where we were talking about actually meeting up and hanging out for the first time. It turns out he lived on the west side of England. He lived in the West Country. And I was like, well, I'm here in Wales. You know, could you come here? Do you drive? Could I go there? And he kept dodging it and sort of misleading the conversation. So I left it for a little while. And then I came back a week later and he was still there and we started chatting again. I'm starting to get really comfortable now being sort of romantically, sexually out with this guy. And I was just like, man, this might be part of who I am. And it was quite liberating. So I start asking again if I can meet up with this guy, and again, he dodges the question. But after a little while...
I'm gonna let this play out, but like, I genuinely believe that this is really fucking interesting as like a case study for someone who's become purely like a textbook red pill, fuck the left, alt-right pipeline MAGA person who's probably voting Reform UK in the next general election here in the UK. Which for my American audience, all you need to know about Reform is that their recent manifesto mentions transgender people more than poverty or domestic violence, for example. Yeah, you heard that right, more than poverty.
As you know what, my parents are actually driving over and I'm going with them. So I tell him where we were going to hang out and he agreed. So over the preceding week, I was extremely nervous. A week passes, the day and the time arrive, and I am standing at the spot. Yeah, he doesn't show up. Anyway, I get back, I hear nothing for a couple of days, and then he's like, oh, dude, yeah, at the last second, you know, they didn't come down, or they decided to go somewhere else. So the months pass, and we're getting into 2008, 2009, 2010. This is where I met Kaya, and then when I met Kaya, that part of me sort of stopped, and it all became about Kaya. So I flew over, and I meet her mom, and we go to her apartment, and I'm in her room, and we're sort of just scrolling. So anyway, we're going through Vampire Freaks, and she's showing me all of her friends. And lo and behold, a very familiar profile photo showed up. It was the guy, but with a different name and a different location, and many more photos I'd never seen before. Way more recent photos. Yes, the person who had been catfishing me this whole time was using the photos from someone that Kaya knew on Vampire Freaks.
So yeah, he got catfished essentially, but again, this whole thing there is very important because I think it shows just how willing he was to engage with actual goth traits, actual goth values that are nowhere to be seen nowadays in his current content, which is that acceptance and exploration of alternative ideas. I don't know if deep down he's always been like a bigot or someone who hates women and minorities, or if that's only a recent thing, or if he's maybe even only pretending to despise them as much as he does now, which does not make it any better, by the way. If anything, it makes it worse. Because not only are you presenting this fucking hatred for women and minorities, but you're also a liar, like right to your core. This here is the Toxic Tears YouTube channel, which is owned by Kaya, aka Jake Munro's ex-wife. As you can see by her most popular videos, she was getting 4 million views, 2.6 million, 1 million. Something that's very important is that 4 million view video is more views than Jake Munro has ever gotten on any video ever. But something you can also see is that among these most popular videos was videos with Jake Munro. So them getting in this relationship and Jake starting to date Kaya was something that helped them both mutually. It was very beneficial for both of their careers. Kaya is still active nowadays too. It seems as though she hasn't fallen into this disgusting alt-right pipeline bullshit. But this channel's like old school. I'd recommend if you're doing your makeup or just want to chill for a little bit, then this channel's, it's like a time machine back onto old YouTube where everything was just a bit more chill and less edited. It's so old school that she even still has a Hotmail email address. I mean, if that's not OG, then I don't know what is. You can see she did vlogs as well, like this one with creators known as Luxeria and Rolly, who when you look at their accounts, here's Luxeria, for example, and then here's Rolly. You look at their descriptions, they are very they are very pro-LGBTQ+. A lot of them are part of that community themselves. And again, it's just interesting that this was the crowd that he was associating with so proudly and so publicly, whereas now, I don't think he'd even look their way. Or maybe he would, but like purely in anger. You goddamn girls and gays ruining everything. What a title that is. I can't believe that's a real title. I don't remember it now, but was it like women are ruining everything or some shit like that? Yeah, it is. Women are the problem. We have to watch that video later, man. We just have to. Anyway, let's actually talk about the breakup now, because this is where shit gets interesting and there's a lot of real genuine conversation that I feel like can be had and needs to be had, and that I can actually add a lot to this conversation too, as someone who has experience with a lot of the stuff that we're about to talk about here. So when the two broke up, Jake Munro released this 2-hour and 16-minute breakup video. And for the record, there was no drama before this. They broke up privately. I think there are a few sly mentions in like some Q&A videos, but nothing to elicit an over 2-hour fucking video. Like, if you break up, that's your business. Sure, you can tell people about it, like put a story up or something, or maybe a community. They didn't have community posts back then, I don't think. Maybe a small video, like a 2-minute video. All you need to say is, we broke up. That's it. That's all you need to say. It don't matter if it was a bad breakup, unless something truly heinous or illegal happened. It's not really anyone else's business. Why do you talk about it for over 2 fucking hours? It's just so odd and parasocial, which I'm trying to not use that word parasocial so much, because I do think it's overused, but this here, it really strikes me as a strange move. I think what we soon find out it is that he is very scared of what he did being horrible and wants to sort of get a video out first and make all the claims against her, because maybe if he accuses first, it'll seem more credible in the eyes of the public. I don't think this worked. Maybe it did at the time, but hindsight has not treated Jake Munro nicely. I say that, but he's still a very successful YouTuber, unfortunately. He's just hated by everybody who isn't a gigantic, stupid arsehole. He's the type of person who, if he doesn't like you, you have a lot of reason to be, like, actually proud. Anyway, I'm not a fucking psychopath, so obviously we're not gonna watch the entire 2-hour thing in this video. I have seen it, though, and we've got a clipped up version here of both responses, because hers is 3 hours long, which I won't criticize because it came out after Jake's. It was a direct response to his, so it makes total sense why she would make a video about it, because it's a fucking response, which is hilarious, by the way, because Jake later says that he wants to make the whole thing private and that she should take her video down and just resolve it when he fucking started it, but like, we'll talk about that later, whatever, right? Let's just hear this dude out, shall we?
First thing I would like to apologize for is my hair. I have not had the time to bleach my hair and re-dye it, so now I have boy band frosted tips for now, and I'm actually kind of vibing with it, so we're just gonna roll with that today. The second thing I would like to legitimately apologize for is probably the reason why so many people turned away from me, and that is that I am sorry that I did not do a video addressing all of the controversies as they were happening. I'm apologizing because for those of you who wanted to fight my corner, for those of you who were confused as to why someone like me, who you thought was, you know, a nice dude, suddenly did this out of the blue, and for those of you who were dealing with other people criticizing me a lot less maturely, let's just say, I'm sorry I did not give you the tools in order to argue back, to fight my corner for me. I had to watch my career that I worked so very, very hard on myself. No one gave me a shout out. No one posted my video in their stories. No one famous. I posted a video. It did super well. And then as soon as I got back from my show in Birmingham, I sat down and I worked my ass off and I built what I have or have from the ground up myself. I did that. That's what I did.
Okay, so what he's referring to there is mainly a lot of the criticism that he was getting at the time of their breakup when it became public, of people basically saying that Kaya made him, which his ego would not accept that as a thought that anyone would have. It's even the main thing he talks about in the description of the video. Tired of the misinformation, tired of being discredited, of being harassed by groups of delusional individuals influenced by Kaya and her mother. It's time I address things correctly, start with a clean slate, and give you all the facts from my side of the story to make your own decisions. The comments are also turned off because this video is fucking again, I don't mean to spoil anything, but it's just very, very bad video. And he's a very bad person. The hate groups that were influenced by Kaya and her mother, they had no involvement with, by the way. As far as I can tell, this is just a video that he made for the sole purpose of getting this shit off of his chest. Like, in my mind, fair enough if it annoys you a little bit that someone thinks your whole career was built off of being someone's boyfriend. But does that really justify an over 2-hour long video just completely lambasting this girl that you were married to for over a decade? It's like, sure, she didn't make you, but she definitely helped you a lot. Her most viewed videos are more popular than your most viewed videos. It's not as though there was a massive discrepancy gap at the time. I'm not saying you didn't help her at all either, or that you made her, or that she made you, right? You were both successful before the relationship, during the relationship, and unfortunately after the relationship. But me personally, I don't like when people always talk about how they're self-made and they've done everything themselves from the ground up. I understand if you're liberal with the use of the word self-made, it's totally fine. But I also think it's very important to show gratitude for the people who inevitably made your rise to fame possible. Like me, for example, no one made this channel, right? I wasn't made by collaborating with people or anything. I've not done one collaboration on this bastard channel. However, to say that I'm self-made would be a lie. Like, how did I learn to edit? It's all the selfless YouTubers that put out free courses on YouTube for me to learn from. And those videos were uploaded on the same website that I'm currently uploading to, which was made by a bunch of developers who went through years of studying. The website is currently being upheld by loads of developers as well, and my videos are being marketed by those same developers in an algorithm that I certainly didn't make, and with thumbnails that they're not original by any means. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. It's actually kind of fucking beautiful that everyone's success can be attributed to the ingenuity and human curiosity of hundreds of thousands of people that came before them. That's what's so great about humanity. And in a world where people are always talking about how shit we are, it's nice to sort of sit back and just acknowledge how great we can be. Whether or not you understand or know or are grateful for it, we all help each other out in one way or another.
I know people have been trying to strip it from me, saying that Kaya made me who I am, but that's literally not the case. So here's a graph of when I became popular back in 2019. As you can see, there is a steep rise here, very steep, drops in August, and then it goes back up again. And then here's Kaya's Social Blade around the same year. I think all of the views on my 2 biggest viewed videos were coming from recommended, meaning they were authentic. People saw my video on their YouTube feed and decided to click it themselves. My views and my popularity were in...
This is another thing though. Did you really do it all by yourself? Your most viewed video is you reacting to alt TikTok girls. Those girls have more to do with the success of that video than you, if anything. Maybe that's an overstatement, but this is what I mean when I'm like, pat yourself on the back. For sure, you've done something impressive. You made something, you've made a channel, you've done what you're passionate about, you made a career on it, and you made a lot of money doing it. And that's great, and genuine applause for that, for anyone who manages to do such a thing. Especially, at the time he was making those videos where everything seemed rather ethical and not fucking horrible. But I do think it's also very important to be grateful at every opportunity that you can. Because in this video, he doesn't show any gratitude towards Kaya. It's like, sure, she didn't make you, but she was your wife for over a decade. She definitely helped you. I wasn't made by my girlfriend, but she helps me so much. If it wasn't for her, I'd be in this reclusive, at home all day on my fucking computer, sort of narky state, like I very much was during my first year or two on the internet, like as an editor doing YouTube. It was like a horrible, reclusive, not sustainable lifestyle that resulted in me being pumped by an IV drip like 3 or 4 times because I was so lacking in vitamins from not eating or sleeping for months on end because I was too focused on internet bullshit. So yeah, sure, Kaya didn't make you, I agree, you didn't make her, fucking sure. But she did help you. She helped you a lot, actually. And the lack of ability to even acknowledge that, like even a little bit, I think says a lot. It's just complete selfishness.
They were authentic. People saw my video on their YouTube feed and decided to click it themselves. My views and my popularity were in no way influenced by anyone else. In fact, I can actually show you what my views were like when my views were entirely influenced by Kaya. And I would only get about 4,000 views per video, mainly from my subscriber base. And then obviously whenever Kaya would appear in my videos, these were the views. Why did you kick Kaya out while her mom was having a health scare? I mean, the question could also be, why did Kaya want to come on tour with me for 2 weeks while her mom had a health scare? Since she mentioned to me that her mom needed someone to drive her around, and not many of her family can drive, it was up to me to tell Kaya not to come on tour. And as far as I was aware, I would frequently ask Kaya what was wrong with her mom and how things are going. She would tell me, oh, she got back from the doctors and it's benign and it was okay. That's the last piece of information I had. I knew she had a surgery coming up to get the benign whatever it was removed, but that wasn't not my responsibility. Now you can. The relationship was 12 years long. 12 years, 11. It was 11 years long. This is a very long relationship that was toxic for the majority of it and codependent for the entirety of it. And the codependency started to slip from one side at least. I knew it was going to happen slightly before Barcelona. The first time we went. I was getting older and I was becoming more mentally healthy. I was learning a lot about myself. I was getting control of my anger, of my depression, of my sadness. I was getting in control of those things. I could feel myself maturing as a man. I could feel myself really stepping into adulthood and the kind of person I was going to be in my 30s. These traits...
Fucking hell, what a horrible person that person ended up being, by the way. Why women are the problem type. Fucking awful. I really grew and matured into a man that I can really be proud of. A man that thinks women are the problem and makes clickbait videos about it. I wonder how his current wife feels about all this bullshit. It's fucking insane. Or current girlfriend, I'm not too sure. But see, this is what I mean. It's like, why do we know this? Why do we need to know the exact reasoning as to why you broke up with her? We don't need to know. Like, keep this shit to yourself. Especially because we soon find out that, like, he was horrible to her. Like, when it comes to terrible fucking actions in this video, it was from him to her. So you have every reason to shut the fuck up about this relationship. Was the prospect of making a 2-hour video and making a lot of money off it just too enticing for you? Because it's a video that you knew people would be interested in, I guess? Did you really just want people to know that you were single and message you to shag you or something? There's easier ways to do that. You don't need an over 2-hour fucking long video to do it. I just don't get it. Like, it's a fucking decade-long marriage. You just shut up about it. We don't need to know all this.
I did not see in Kaya, ever. And I could feel this distance and maturity beginning to increase. So we go to Barcelona, and suddenly when me and Kaya are in Barcelona, she seems a lot happier. I saw an opportunity in order to incite a change in Kaya. Now, before this, Kaya has a video online, things like the boyfriend tag, and we talked about the only thing that we ever argued about. But one of the biggest things that me and Kaya ever fought about was the fact that she literally never, ever, ever, and I know this is gonna, and I could do this for a long time, she never cleaned anything ever. No, I wasn't looking for a housewife that cleaned the floor below me while I sat in front of the TV and drank a beer and ate the food she cooked me. All I was asking for was literally a 50-50 split of cleaning the house, of cleaning the environments that we lived in. And these concerns turned from casual conversations into frustrated requests into full-blown arguments, yelling and shouting. I would work all day, whether it was in my studio all day, working on videos, or if I was doing a 9-to-5 job. It was especially frustrating. I'd kindly ask her to clean the house, or just her room, or just her stuff, just something. I'd come home, it wasn't done. Everything was still there. So after a full day of work, I would then have to also then clean. I thought, this is kind of frustrating, but, you know, as the relationship goes on, I'm sure she will learn to do this. She didn't. And then I began to realize that she wasn't cleaning because she had a severe lack of respect for me completely. 11 years, day in, day out, week in, week out, month after month, exactly the same thing. Hey, sweetie, could you pick up the trash? I'm going to be working and streaming all day. Could you just, you know, the kitchen, the dishes, the cat litter, just something, please, just one thing, just do that for me, please. Met with, I'll try. I finish streaming, I finish editing, I go to bed, I wake up in the morning, guess what's not been done? And this is like every day, every week, every month. And then the requests would then end up in like crying, her crying, and me getting angry because I was just so frustrated. I couldn't understand why she wasn't doing it. Then she realized that it could have something to do with ADHD, and that's exactly where things got even worse.
Okay, so we will watch the rest of this, but like off the bat, I'm not going to be a dickhead here. That is absolutely an annoying thing in a relationship, and I would be very annoyed if that was happening to me as well. It isn't that simple, obviously. We do learn a lot more about this, both from her side and also later on in this video when he talks about her ADHD diagnosis, which is sort of the reasoning as to why she not refuses, but literally cannot clean. I say that. There is obviously, you can work on it and you can learn to be cleaner. You know, you can't blame everything on your mental illness. Like, absolutely, there is some personal responsibility to be taken there. And in her response video, she does take some personal responsibility about this and also says that she's doing a lot better now, which is great to hear, of course. But what's important about what is being said here is that he is unable to acknowledge the ADHD as being part of the reason as to why she cannot clean. Like, he doesn't think it's a valid excuse at all. However, later on in this video, when he goes on to bring up his own mental health issues, which is, I guess, anger issues as he calls them, which aren't diagnosed, unlike hers, he does not budge on that she should be willing to accept exactly what he is going through and never react in a bad way or be annoyed at him for literally screaming at the top of his lungs. And it's like, if you think she needs to work on her ADHD, you also need to work on your anger issues. You can't treat your own mental health struggle as something that is unchangeable and completely justified, and then completely dismiss hers as something that can be just bypassed. It's just incredibly self-centered and fucking horrible. But you'll see more of that in just a second, though, trust me.
Realized that not being able to clean the house could be a symptom of potential ADHD. She tried even less to clean because she realized now that there was an excuse not to clean because now she has potentially ADHD. She would never try to find a way. She would never try to work through anything. There always had to be a reason why she was doing that, and there has to be a pill or something she can do or take in order to suddenly make her want to do something. She went to public.
Also, again, sorry, I will let it play out, but again, why the fuck do we know this? Your girlfriend, your wife not wanting to clean the house and that being an annoying thing in your relationship. Sure, it's annoying. It's not something that millions of people online need to know about, though. You could fucking bet your damnedest that if I was having relationship troubles, I would not tell you about them. It's none of your business. If we broke up, I probably wouldn't even fucking tell you about it. I definitely wouldn't make a whole video about it. Like, this whole video is, the existence of it is so confusing to me. I get that breakup videos exist, but they're never this fucking long unless it's like an expose.
In order to try and get an ADHD diagnosis, she was denied both times, and then her dad paid for her to go private, where she then got an ADHD diagnosis along with the medication. And she promised me that when she starts taking it, that she'll start cleaning, and she's gonna do all the things that I've been asking her to do for the entire relationship. First month goes by, medication doesn't work. Second month, medication still doesn't work, and I believe she stopped taking it. Then a few months go by, and I'm like, the house hasn't been cleaned at all. And I'm like, are you still on the medication? She says, no, it didn't work. And I said, well, go back and get a different type of medication. She goes back and gets a different type of medication. That also didn't seem to work. None of the medications seemed to work. And then that's literally where that ended. But you have to ask yourself the question, why is she unwilling to clean anything? Ever. When she can clearly see that I'm upset. When she can clearly see that I'm extremely, stressed, and I have anxiety because I'm the one who's earning the money to pay the bills, just enough to pay the bills, or when my channel took off and I was spending literally all day in the studio editing and streaming and filming and then sending her thousands of pounds of my money for her to spend with her friends, on her friends, while she never uploaded anything despite me trying my absolute hardest to make her go back to doing YouTube. Trust me, I tried. Why do you think I emptied the attic space that we so sorely needed? Because Kaya hoarded so much stuff. I had to find a space for everything in the attic so that she could have the attic space to work in it, and she didn't use it. $550 equivalent for the studio space, that giant studio space that she had, never used it. The $3,500 iMac that I bought her, I think it was that much, so that she could do work, never used it. I was helping her to try and find a purpose. I was willing to buy property in Barcelona so that she could open an art shop, because she's actually very good at art. She's a very good artist. So I bought her really expensive art supplies so that she could possibly paint and then sell her paintings on Etsy or something like that. Didn't fancy doing that either. I have a very, very, very high sex drive. I'm ready to go all the time. And my love language...
I don't know. So first of all, for the whole financial stuff, you know what? This video is so scattered and stuff because he talks more about the financial stuff later and him buying her loads of shit. We soon come to find out that in many of the cases, she wasn't even asking for it. Like, it was just sort of him giving her things. I personally think is so that he could use it as leverage to guilt trip her in the future, which we get a lot more evidence for that later on. Like, I'm not just saying that completely unfounded. We do get more evidence of that. I think from him as well, which is funny. But anyway, let's see what he has to say about sex.
And when I realized that I was no longer being touched and no longer being physically appreciated, I asked if she could do that. She said she would work on it. She didn't. So I developed this extremely damaging complex that came out of, why doesn't my girlfriend want to touch me? Why is it that if I don't initiate it, it never happens? And that's true. It didn't happen for a year. So then I developed a really deep-rooted insecurity about, you know, the length of my neck and my height and the shape of every limb on my body. Trying to get skinny, or no, trying to get muscly. That's what she would probably want. No, let's go skinny. Maybe that'll work. Did everything I could. Became obsessed with the gym. Became obsessed with food and diet. Tried everything I could to try and look as good as I possibly could, to try and see if I could somehow become what it was that she was clearly not getting out of the person that I was. Nothing ever seemed to work. I didn't have any friends to confide in emotionally. Kaya was not emotionally available to talk to me about anything. So we come back from Barcelona, and while I was there, I was like, we're gonna move there.
Why are you telling us this? Why are you fucking why do we know this? If this was an anonymous person and you were anonymously talking about like a previous relationship and the troubles that you had in it, I think it'd be kind of fair enough, because there's not really anyone to send hate towards, which was clearly your goal in making this video. But why do we need to know about the sex life of you and your ex-wife? Why do you find it so pertinent to tell us this information? Just because you feel as though you're hard done by doesn't mean you need to tell hundreds of thousands of people, especially when we later find out that you were the one doing her hard done by. Sorry. What? You know what I mean?
Because I need to try and save this relationship. Because I was freaking out. Literally the same arguments we're having now were the same arguments we were having early on in the relationship when we were like teenagers. And I can't put up with it anymore. But the mere prospect of being without Kaya was horrifying. I was starting to realize that I was not appreciated in any way other than the security that I provided. In this fear came the overwhelming motivation and determination to move to Barcelona. Because if I could move us both to Barcelona, I was hoping, with all of my heart, I was hoping that she was going to change. I spent loads of money that I did not get back for a relocation service in Barcelona for like translators and, you know, telling me the process of how to get my citizenship like that. I had to pay for that out of my money. Since Kaya was an Irish citizen, I was the one who had to go and become a Spanish citizen through the police station. So I had to fly over there for that. I got that sorted. I managed to find an apartment. I was in the middle of getting my financial records together, and then Brexit and COVID hit at the same time. COVID in March, Brexit at the end of that very same year. COVID meant we couldn't leave the country, and Brexit meant we couldn't ever leave the country. And I was the most destroyed I think I've ever been, because now I was locked in the house with Kaya. And of course, the behavior that she had exhibited over the tenure of our relationship was now even more exacerbated by our inability to leave the house. So from 2019 to 2021, to the very, very end of 21, and actually halfway through this year, I was financially responsible for Kaya completely. Here are my financial records of between 2019 and 2021, and this is every transaction between me and Kaya of me sending her money. So between 2019 and the end of 2021, I gave Kaya this amount. It's like £40,000, which is about $45,000. That's the amount of money I gave her. What was she using it for? I don't know. But that doesn't include the moped or the scooter that I got her. That doesn't include the deposit on the car. That doesn't include the iMac that I bought her. That doesn't include the MacBook Pro that I got her. It doesn't include the two PCs I got her, the gaming PC and the streaming PC that I got her. I paid for her driving test. I paid for her driving lessons. Put the deposit down on the car for her. Put the car in her name so that she felt like it was her car, that she owned the car. It's in her name, including the actual money that I was sending Kaya for her to spend on whatever she wanted. On top of that, all the items and the studio rent. This is the new total. I can already see you guys are probably getting upset about this, but the only time I ever saw Kaya happy was when she was spending my money.
So yeah, you can very much see the narrative that's being put here is that she was just this lazy bum who was using him for his money and was only ever displaying happiness, or I guess, what's the word? Conditioning him to feel happy when he sends her stuff because that's the only way that she'll be happy, which by proxy makes him not fucking fuming. And if we never got her side of the story and this was all as true and exactly as stated, then yeah, obviously it would be shitty. I don't want to talk about it too much now though, because I feel as though we need to hear what she has to say about all this. Obviously I know what's coming, so I know it's a bunch of bullshit. I'm sort of holding back here a little bit till we get to her response. I would urge you guys to do the same as well. I'm going to show you now him talking about his, like the first mention of his anger issues and him yelling a lot, which is something that'll be very important in her response video.
What Kaya meant by taking her stuff out of the old house was taking the stuff that she didn't want to be thrown away. So, as usual, she knew I was going to deal with it. She'd have to deal with me yelling, blah, 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 blah. But she'd learned over the years that after I'd had a good yell about her not doing the things that I asked her to do, I would go back to doing everything for her anyway. She realized that if she did that, she'd have to deal with me yelling for maybe a day, getting upset for maybe a day, and then I'd go back to normal.
So yeah, that's all he says. Just a good yell, and then he's back to normal in a day or two. He does not talk about the extent of it, which we'll soon find out why.
I wasn't talking to Kat on October 2nd, 3rd. I hadn't spoken to Kat since like 2017. Me and Kat did not have...
Kat is his current girlfriend. A lot of people were accusing them of, or accusing him of cheating with Kat, obviously, on Kaya. I don't think that's true to give him, well, I shouldn't really credit him for not cheating, but yeah, I don't think that's true by any means. I can understand making a video discrediting that allegation, but the rest of the shit on why you broke up with this lassie, it was just so unnecessary in my opinion. There is a lot more to this response. Maybe we'll come back to it in a second, but I do actually want to start looking at hers now because it's just so important, and I feel like I'm holding a lot of shit back because I want her to explain it from her point of view. So we'll start with hers now.
This video starts out with Wolf talking about his channel popularity and ranting and raving about how he did it on his own. I honestly don't really care about that. If he wants to deny the impact I had on his channel, he can, but I mean, a lot of his newer viewers won't know about it, but a lot of people have been watching for a long time. Like, they know that before he ever got big, I was the one who was big on YouTube, and I kind of stepped back a bit for reasons that were really mostly to do with him. I have always been open about the fact that I'm messy. I am a messy person, and I really, really struggle with cleaning due to ADHD. Saying I literally never, ever clean anything, ever, is an exaggeration. Like, I'll say, you know, it wasn't often, but, you know, I would try. There'd be a lot of times where I'd sort of, like, start cleaning and I wouldn't be able to finish because I'd get to a certain point where I was just overwhelmed and couldn't figure it out. So even throughout the relationship, he never acknowledged how badly it affected me, you know, like and I think he even says it in the video, I'll get to it at the point in my notes, but he always basically took the symptoms of my mental health issues, being depression, anxiety, and the ADHD, as this massive mark of disrespect. It always came, you don't respect me, you're doing this because you don't respect me, you're doing this on purpose because you have no respect for me. No matter how many times I told him, I do respect you, it's not that. This is just something that I really struggle with. Generally, for most of the relationship, we would both make a fucking horrendous mess. Like, we lived in absolute squalor, it was terrible, it was really, really bad, like, it was gross. We would both make this massive mess. No one would clean. He would get more and more angry, I'd get more upset, and then he would blow up, scream at me, and he'd eventually clean, usually by, like, a lot of it was just, like, shoving things into boxes and stuff and hiding stuff out of the way, so nothing's ever really clean, it's just sort of hidden, which stressed me out, because my idea of cleaning is I want things to be organized and put in specific places so I can find things, and everything's just shoved in the boxes, then I'm so overwhelmed that I can't, like, tackle it. I do think it's really unfair that, you know, whenever we both made that mess and neither was cleaned, I never, like, screamed at him to do it, you know, like, I would, like, get upset and I would, like, ask him, like, could you please, like, I can't handle this, could you please clean, which would usually result in me getting yelled at, but, like, I never blew up at him, and I was like, what the fuck, just fucking clean, you know, like, I would never do that, and he referenced me trying even less after I got my ADHD diagnosis, or figured out I had ADHD, something in that realm. That's not true, I didn't try even less, in fact, once I figured that out, like, I had a little burst of, like, right, like, there's a reason for this, I can fix it. I'm like, I did try, and, like, I read up things, and, you know, like, we go into medication later, I think, but, you know, like, I read up on things, like, how to do things, and I really did try, and I just couldn't really get anything that worked. And on top of that, I don't really know how to put it towards the way he was made it harder, and I know that, like, he's, like, searched things about it, but the thing was, whenever he was, like, looking stuff up, it was always like, how can I make my partner do this? Whereas if I was searching things, I was, like, looking for ways to compromise to, like, where it's like, because I found, like, a bunch of really helpful things through ADHD, but Jake just wasn't interested in cooperating on, with begged him so many times to go to therapy for the issues we were having, and he just refused. I think he went, like, once, didn't like it, refused to ever go again. And I begged him over and over again, and he just wouldn't. He didn't care enough to work on his issues. I always felt like he didn't really believe the ADHD was something I had, and that was hard as well, because it's quite clearly something I struggle with. But, yeah, me eventually going private to an ADHD specialist specifically to be seen does not invalidate my diagnosis. I mean, anyone who's tried to get a fucking ADHD diagnosis through the NHS.
Yeah, it's tragic, by the way. NHS diagnosis is the waiting list is stupidly long, and then them even accepting you to go on the wait, especially if you're a woman as well, it's like fucking good luck. Obviously, big up the NHS. They're fucking great. They're heroes, but ADHD is not their strong point. And just because you go to an ADHD specialist or pay for an ADHD diagnosis, it does not mean that you don't have one. You're not really going to be able to, I don't know, trick someone into getting a diagnosis. You go to the official place, you do everything officially. Just because it wasn't done by the council, it doesn't make it illegitimate, which I guess is an accusation that was being thrown around here a lot.
Yeah, there were points in our relationship where I was just generally earning more, and, like, points in our relationship where the biggest earner was Metal-Ass Gaming, which, you know, like, he did put most of the work into, like, for sure. You know, like, he was the one who set it up and edited it and stuff, but At the same time, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but most of MAG's actual success was coming from my channel. It was coming from my viewers who knew me from my channels.
Metal Ass Gaming was the collaborative channel that they had. It was a gaming channel, if you needed me to specify. He was doing the majority of the work, but she was bringing in most of the audience. So yeah, it probably was more his channel than hers, but once again, like I said earlier, to say that, like, she didn't help at all is ridiculous and incredibly ignorant and also ungrateful.
We got this house, and I say we because, you know, it's because of you guys that I was able to do that. And I was like, finally, in a good place. I have my house, me and Sebastian, you know, living here happily together. I'm finally feeling, like, safe. I've got, like, great friends now, like, friends that I lost when I was with Jake because just no one could fucking stand him. And, like, that sounds mean, but it's true. Like, I lost so many people because either they couldn't stand being around him, or he would, like, flirt with them and be sexually inappropriate and make them uncomfortable, which is something that went on throughout our entire relationship.
You fuck me, that was definitely not something that Jake mentioned in his original video about this, which, like, of course, why the fuck would he mention that? It does seem as though being fucking unbearable to be around is a running trend that has happened throughout his life, though, from school to this relationship to probably now. Also, I definitely believe, especially with evidence that we get a little bit later on this whole thing, that he absolutely was encouraging her to spend the money that she was spending based on him sort of giving it to her, I guess. And then now leveraging him giving her that money as a point against her.
He went on about how I wouldn't do YouTube and he's trying to force me to. He's completely skipping over the part where, for so long, I had to really push. I had to push so hard with my Patreon. I was trying to get sponsorships and stuff to keep us afloat. When he finally did start making a lot of money, that's the point where, like, I was so emotionally exhausted from just everything. He's made me out, like, when he started making all that money, that I was like, oh my god, yes, money. No, I remember so fucking clearly, and I've said this on film, I remember when he started, like, when that took off, he started making money, he started getting all these followers, and, like, you know, I was happy for him, but the main thing, like, at the very back of my fucking head, the thing that I thought was, you know, good can come from this, he finally told me to take a break. He did his whole, like, look, your boyfriend's rich, you can take a break now thing. Your boyfriend's rich was, like, a common phrase. I'm like, you know, it was, like, sort of funny and playful, but at the same time, and I was like, fucking amazing, I need this so much, so I did take a break. And then it was around, like, you know, while I was on my break that we finally found a new house. So, my plan, which I told him over and over and over again, he still screamed at me constantly. I told him that my plan was, you know, we had this whole big move that ended up being dragged out for ages, not helped by the fact that he broke up for me in the middle of the move, which just made things like 1,000 times worse. Like, and the move's happening. So my plan was, right, new house. The move was something I found really stressful, not helped by the fact that anytime I did go down and try to help with it, Jake would get angry at the state of the place and scream at me until I was crying in the corner and, like, literally about to throw up from stress. He may not have ever hit me, but I feel like he almost, again, it's just how I'm feeling. I can only say how it felt from my point of view. He didn't hit me, but it felt like he almost made sure that I knew he could, and more than that he wanted to. You know, he'd be screaming at me about, like, how I'm so shit, and how I'm, like, ruining his life by being messy, like, not those exact words, but, you know, like, that kind of thing. And doing, like, yelling at me and punching doors. And, like, how am I meant to take that other than it's me that he wants to be punching? I think he'll get to my notes, but he tried to say that didn't happen in the last house. It didn't happen in, like, the newest house that we lived in for, like, 2 months or something before he threw me out. That was before that he tried to say it didn't happen. It absolutely did. The holes were full of doors, to the point where I had an email from the landlord after we moved out, furious about the holes in the doors and stuff.
I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. Like, when you're punching shit like that, especially if... Because he claims that he was completely uncontrollable and that it was due to this incredible, like, anger issue that he had that he just couldn't control. But if it's so uncontrollable, then how are you so unwilling to acknowledge how uncontrollable her ADHD is and her proclivity to not clean the house is? When, obviously, she wasn't doing nothing. Like, she was cleaning every now and then sometimes, but it wasn't great. It wasn't what it should be. But it's not as though he was doing a lot of the cleaning either. Like, she says, and I totally believe, that the majority of his cleaning was just sort of chucking shit out the way, out of sight, out of mind. I do want to hear about just how angry he would get from his point of view, though, because obviously the best type of evidence is him himself admitting it. Also, I've just seen this. What is the fucking thumbnail for this video? He's like posed and shit. What is this, man?
In my late teens, early 20s, I made Kaya very aware that I had an anger problem before the relationship started. I said, I have a problem with anger. She was like, that's okay. Got into the relationship. And of course, 19-year-old being thrust into the real world, having to, you know, pay for a house, do a 9-to-5 job, paying bills, dealing with debt, that kind of thing. Very, very stressful time. Now, of course, this is like 2010 to like 2013. This is a very long time ago. Anger is perfectly valid. Never raised my fist to Kaya, ever, ever. I was frustrated. I was being beaten down by everything. I had no...
Yeah, but for the record, punching shit and breaking stuff in front of her is still absolutely a form of emotional abuse. Like, you just can't do that shit in front of your girlfriend in a way... Like, even if your intention isn't to threaten her, that is obviously incredibly scary and a lot more harmful than not cleaning the room. Like, you are actively destroying the property of the house that you do not even own. We'll let it keep playing because he is completely in denial about being able to accept any responsibility for these anger issues. He also never went to therapy, which she states as well. Like, even though she tried to get him to go to therapy, and he has the money to go to therapy, he's spending all this fucking money, he definitely had the money to do it, he just didn't do it. So he wasn't even, it's like he wasn't even fucking trying to sort of help himself out there. He didn't do any self-help stuff either. Like, till the end of the relationship, he was just screaming, fucking physically just punching everything, angry bloke. Which again, mental illness, anger issues, totally exist, right? For sure. But it's something that can be worked on in the same way ADHD is also something that can be worked on. You can't cure it by any means, but you can learn to work with it. You know, obviously it is a spectrum, but depending on how bad it is, there are definitely things you can do. Exercises, medications, general just sort of, I guess, mental state in certain times. Also, some days are just better than others. Point is, it's not a hopeless, apocalyptic situation, right? There are things you can do with pretty much every form of mental illness. It's just so funny that he's so aware that mental illnesses can be worked on and you can still live fruitful and productive lives with them when it comes to talking about her mental illness or mental disorder. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to taking accountability for his own disorder, his own anger, it's this completely unchanging, unchallengeable, impossible thing to deal with. And so you're not allowed to criticize him for it. Now, I told her that I'd get angry, so I'm allowed to get angry as much as I want, even though she was equally as open about her messiness. So it shouldn't have come as a fucking shock to him. Not that that makes it good by any means, but you get what I'm saying here.
Support network, no friends, no family to confide in. Kaya wasn't working. She wasn't ever getting a job. In fact, I think Kaya had like 2 jobs during the tenure of our relationship. One at Lush, one working at PayPal. Both of them, I think Lush lasted less than 2 weeks, and the job she did at PayPal lasted about a year. The rest of the time, I was the one doing the work, so I was extremely stressed out. And if I vented that anger by punching a door, I feel like that's completely valid if I'm not hitting anyone. Now, of course, you can make up your mind about that. You guys can decide whether or not that was aggressive behavior directed at Kaya, but to me, that was my way of venting my anger. I couldn't drive anywhere. I didn't have any friends to go and see. I didn't have any money to go out. I'd already explained and warned the girl I was going to get with, Kaya, that I had anger problems, and she said, oh, that's okay, that's fine. Do I regret venting my anger in that way? Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, that isn't acceptable behavior. Like, I don't know why you're framing it as though it's acceptable. You know, I felt stressed, so I punched the fuck out of our property. But it's totally fine though, like it's acceptable. But she felt stressed so she didn't clean. No, that's not, I can't have that. Nope, fuck that. No way will I ever take that. You fucking you don't respect me. Do you see the issue that I'm having here?
He said, I'm not some amazing shining angel of justice here, of infinite patience. I know I fucked up. Everybody fucks up. By venting my anger in such an aggressive way, that's a fuck up. It's valid to feel angry. Most people are incredibly understanding of every other negative mental health problem. Like if you're depressed, or you're anxious, or any of those other softer negative emotions, right? Because they're not aggressive. You know, it's easily approachable. It's like a sense of feeling sorry for someone. But for me, and my dad has it too.
Yeah, you're not understanding though, because it's not aggressive, her not cleaning the room, is it? But you're unable to understand that it's a fucking mental problem. Which again, doesn't excuse it. Like, she should have been cleaning. You should have been cleaning as well, but like, the point stands for sure. I have pretty bad ADHD. It is diagnosed for those interested. And yeah, I have some really bad days for sure. It's just all about communication, I guess. Like, it always comes down to that in relationships. And it's pretty difficult to communicate with someone who punches doors on a regular basis because you're going to feel fucking terrified. And if their way of communicating with you is screaming for a whole day every time you fuck up, but then yeah, communication's gonna be really difficult. Like, there are things you can do to work stuff out. Like me personally, I fucking despise ironing. I don't mind cleaning as much. I'm not great at it, so my girlfriend does most of the cleaning. I clean as well, obviously. She does all of the ironing though. But in that same right, I do most of the shopping and I do all of the cooking. You know, there are conclusions that you can come to. There are agreements that can be made. There are things that can be done. And if you're in a really good relationship, you don't even need to establish these boundaries verbally. It's just sort of a thing that happens. And if you both feel fine about the relationship and the split of work, so to speak, then there's nothing really to be problematic over. Obviously, in a relationship like this, communication absolutely is necessary, and they do verbally need to discuss the split of work, what they should be doing in the house. But that's kind of impossible when you've got someone who's so fucking unhinged that they scream all day and punch doors.
I didn't get those emotions that regularly. I would always feel those emotions as frustrated anger. And of course, they're all coming from the same place as depression and anxiety. It's just, it's coming out as anger. But because the anger isn't the normalized way that people feel sad, I was demonized for it. I'm still being demonized for it. That's how I felt. That's how I dealt with it. Was it great? No. Have I since dealt with it? Absolutely. I haven't been angry this entire year. Despite watching people destroy my career, I've had to sit here and watch them do it, and I've not felt anger once. And check all the doors. In fact, I'm going to show you a quick clip right now. Here's all the doors, not a single hole in any of them. I think I punched a door once in the old house, maybe twice, in the 5 years we were there. I dealt with my anger problem very quickly when I was about 25. It was about six years ago. Again, that's where Make It a Great Day came from. I dealt with my anger myself a long time ago. But of course, it tracks with Kaya that she would bring something up from way in the past, or apply it to today's arguments in order to discredit me, and some people still do that as well. That was a long time ago, and I dealt with it. I'm not proud of it, but I dealt with it.
And obviously we know that bullshit because we have that email from the landlord, which, like, yeah, it could be faked, but let's be real here. She didn't fucking fake it. If she did, we definitely would have heard about it, like.
When the breakup finally happened, I was shocked, and I was scared, and my whole life being turned upside down, and, like, you know, that was all a lot to have to emotionally process, but I got over the pain of actually losing him relatively quickly, considering, and it's purely because, it's not because, like, you know, I was just using it for money or whatever. The reason being was because I had mourned that relationship so many times through those 12 years. Like, in the early years when he cheated on me with some girl from work, all the times I caught him flirting with girls online, I begged him to stop. All the times I couldn't have friends because of things like that. All the times he screamed at me until I hated myself. All the times that I was, like, cowering in fears. He smashed things. He hurt me so much through that whole relationship that, you know, a lot of the mourning process was already done by the time we did finally break up. You know, there's the initial shock to get over, you know, all the fear of the unknown and, of course, the anger and everything, but the reason that I didn't, like, pine after him for very long after the whole thing happened was because it was just, it had all been, like, fucking, like, emotionally beaten out of me for years.
Yeah, but you don't understand, Kaya, mate. He's actually allowed to do all that. He's allowed to cheat on you. He's allowed to flirt with other people. He's allowed to scream at you, because at the end of the day, women are the problem. Holy shit, I've just checked the comments of the video. Yep, completely fucked up this country within 60 years. Are women the ones who have fucked up the country? This is a video about America, by the way, not the UK, and as far as I can tell, in the past 60 years, there hasn't been one woman as the president. So how can women be the ones who have fucked the country up? As far as I remember, the vast majority of congressmen and lawmakers are men.
The keys were handed in, the old house was no longer this big, looming, horrible cloud of stress that, you know, I was, like, just, like, I couldn't fucking get past. That was when I was going to start YouTube again. That was my plan. Old chapter, 100% closed, coming back to YouTube. Brand new, I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to come back in this new house with my new life, and I'm going to, like, build changes. And I was like, yes, it's going to happen. And we broke up before the movie was ever done, so it never happened. Like, one thing that he mentioned, like, when he went on about Barcelona and stuff, was how he was going to buy me an art studio in Barcelona, which, for one, Barcelona prices are different than Belfast. I don't think we would have done that. Two, it was a nice gesture, no? It was, like, it was nice that he thought my art was good. It was never really a dream of mine. Art was something I like to do as a hobby, for one. And two, like, he keeps saying my art was good enough to sell. I genuinely don't believe it is. His idea of supporting me was throwing a lot of money at things and trying to push me into doing things I didn't want to do. And I'm like, it's not support. Like, he was going about how she's supporting me. And I'm like, it's not support. It's not what I want and need, though. He always tried to push me out of doing YouTube, even though I told him that's what I wanted to do. I don't know if it's just because he wanted the spotlight, because whenever I was the bigger channel, he had such an issue with it. He actually once told me that I didn't deserve what I had on YouTube. I didn't deserve the subscribers I had. I didn't deserve the fame I had. And I wasn't good enough. And I didn't deserve that. Like, those words.
Knowing him, he probably thought it was because she's a woman, and that women get it easier online or something. Like, it's easier for them to become YouTubers. And that he actually had to put the work in or some bullshit like that. That's an assumption, but I feel like it's a pretty educated one based on the kind of person that we know he is now. And also, to discourage someone from doing YouTube, and then once again, use that as a point against them to prove that they're some kind of lazy fucking arsehole. Do I even need to describe how grim that is?
In some way seemed apparent from all of the fucking, like, flirting and shit he had to do, although that just felt more like a desperate need for validation. One thing I'll say, at one point he said we didn't have sex for a year. That's not true. I don't know when he's claimed that happened, but the longest we ever went, I think, is at one point during lockdown when things got really bad and really tense between us. I think we went 6 months total. 6 months was the absolute longest we ever went without having sex. Which is still a long time, but he's saying, like, oh, we went for a year without having sex. No. And by the time we moved into, like, the new house, the one that, you know, we were in just before I got thrown out, we were having sex again, despite me being really stressed and everything. But yeah, there were a number of reasons that I wasn't particularly into it. One was, like, he goes on in that video about how, like, he, like, was like, oh, she doesn't find me physically attractive, so I'm gonna go to the gym, go do this, go do that, which I never asked him to, and I always told him that he looked great. There were times, early in our relationship, but there were times where he literally called me fat. And then later in the relationship, it would become more subtle, and, like, he'd get angry at me for not going to the gym and stuff. And that made me feel, like, not good about my body. It wasn't an issue of, like, his fucking height, which I had to listen to him yell about, like, once a week, going on about how no one respected him because he was short, and like, it was a constant thing he'd be really angry about. And I'm like...
So interesting that she brings that up, by the way, because there are videos of, like, old videos of him complaining about being short. When he's not even... I think he's 5'10". Oh, fuck. I've just opened YouTube, and he's on my For You page now. Fucking bollocks. This is the kind of... This is what I do for you guys, by the way. Yeah, look, 50 facts about me. I think it's the first fact, by the way.
So let's get started with number 1. I'm only 5'10", and I sincerely wish I was about 4 inches taller.
There you go. That's the first thing he says about himself in the 50 facts about me video, is that he's only 5'10", and he really wishes he was 6'2". Which 5'10" isn't even, it's not even short. That's like, I'm pretty sure that's the average. I'm 5'10". I don't feel short. Don't get me wrong, I don't feel tall either in comparison to, like, men, I guess. Who fucking cares? Like, who cares? It's just like... he's got short man syndrome. That's all. Is that why he's a red pillar now? He's just sick of people not respecting him for people. He thinks that people don't respect him because he's short. No, people don't respect you because you're fucking arsehole, mate. I'm 5'10" and people respect. Every time I walk into a room, everyone like stands up and does a salute because they respect me that much, man. I command respect. When I go to the gym, treadmills do push-ups. My editor doesn't even get paid. He respects me that much. He does all this work for free because of the respect he has for me. His payment is a sly wink and an attaboy because I command that much respect.
She sends you updates from the coldest studio out of the two. I did notice that she made the effort to film in the big cold one, not the small, comfortable, warm one that she was actually staying in. I couldn't talk to any of the friends I had at the time because I just don't like having friends, and I didn't have anyone that close that I could confide in. So I had to sit there and try and be man enough to stand up for myself and take this stand and not cave.
See, that's him talking about how he has no fucking friends, which is something he's, again, in that 50 facts video, about how he doesn't like having friends. But then it's like, how can you complain about not having friends when, by your own admission, you don't make the effort to make friends or have friends? It's not really her fault then, is it?
By making decisions without including me, and so he decided we were going to move to Barcelona out of nowhere and started telling everyone we were moving to Barcelona without even having a discussion about it with me. Like, but without me agreeing, he was telling our friends and everyone that we were moving to Barcelona, and I was like, it really bothered me for a couple of reasons, because for one, I hadn't agreed to it at this point, and at that point, I wasn't on board. Like, I was afraid, like, I had friends here, I had, you know, family here, my whole life was here, and, like, I was scared at the idea of moving to another country, and he had just dropped this on me out of nowhere, like, this is what we're doing, without giving me time to decide if that's what I wanted. And the other thing that bothered me was, like, if that's what we were going to do, that should be a decision we made together, and then announced together, like, a big, life-changing, huge, like, moving to another country, at least that's a huge thing to me, should have been, like, a thing we could have, like, announced together, this is what we're doing, like, yeah, nope, he just went and told everyone that's what was happening without me being part of the decision making.
Yeah, it's because he probably feels so controlling over the relationship, like, he feels, I'm making the money, I'm paying her so much shit, I'm doing the fucking cleaning, I get to dictate what happens in this relationship, where we live, and what we do. It's so weird that, like, it's so funny, because he accuses her of not respecting him, but how could, like, the amount of disrespect you need to have within you towards someone to just announce something like that to your friends and family, and even the public at some points, without consulting her first? How is she the disrespectful one here? Or the one with no respect for you?
But we had been drinking with some friends at one point, because he just announced it to people with no care. We've been drinking with some friends, and the group had kind of split off, and he was with one of our friends, and that friend had, like, noticed that I wasn't super keen on this whole Barcelona thing. I was also a bit reserved, and he was concerned for my mental well-being. And he's, like, tried to speak to Jake about it, and he's like, hey, Kaya maybe doesn't seem, like, super enthusiastic about this Barcelona thing. And Jake was like, no, she'll be fine while she's there. And my friend was like, okay, but you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do. I doubt Jake remembers this because he was really fucking drunk, but his exact response, word for word, when he was told, you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do, was, but you can manipulate them.
This is why he got bullied in school. I'm sorry, that is so true. It's like, he's got the mindset of a 6-year-old. You have to, like, be fucking lectured by someone. You know, if someone doesn't want to do something, you shouldn't really make them do it. That's like rule 1 of being a human being.
Thought the money was lost, but he was saying about all the money that was spent trying to move to Barcelona and having to pay for these services and all of that. And he's like, I had to pay for that and I never got the money back. I paid for a lot of that. I actually had to take out a loan so that we had enough money in the bank account. Because he didn't have enough money to prove he had enough money to be in the country at that point, in the bank. So I had to take out a loan through PayPal and put it into his bank account so we could prove to, like, the Spanish government that he had enough money to come to live in Spain. But his constant obsession with money and how it was his money, this, that, and, like, you know, everything is his. That was the exact kind of fucking control that was going on in the relationship. And I couldn't, anything I was upset about, I couldn't bring up because it would just come back to, I give you all this money, I buy you all this stuff, I pay all our bills. So no matter what he did or what, like, really, like, deep problem I had or, like, emotional concern I had, it didn't fucking matter because he had a lot of money and he paid for everything. He gave me so much money, and he did. He gave me a lot of money. But again, you know, up until that point, I'd give him half of every last little cent that I ever earned. He said that I was only happy when spending money. And that's not true at all.
And for the record, if he has so much money and she has fuck all money, the money that she's giving him means a lot more than the money that he's giving her. It's a great story in the Bible, actually. I'm sure you all know it, especially if you grew up Christian, which statistically a lot of you have, where Jesus is, and the disciples are, I think they're taking donations or something along those lines. I can't quite remember exactly what it is. I don't remember exactly what it was for either, but the story goes, everyone's passing by, dropping, like, exorbitant spent stupid amounts of money into the pots, into the donation pots to like modernize it a little bit. I can't remember exactly. And then I think there's like an old lady that comes along and drops like a penny in, and Jesus takes that lady and like shows everyone in the crowd this lady, and he goes like, look, she donated a penny, which is way less technically than everyone else, but realistically in my mind, she's donated more than every fucker here because she's the one with the least out of everyone here. And I think that's a brilliant moral. Like, I really do love that story. Jesus he was pretty fucking cool, wasn't he? It's a shame that if he existed now, he'd probably get deported by ICE.
He tried to show screenshots as proof of me gaslighting. None of it was gaslighting. I don't know if other people can tell that from looking at those screenshots, but it wasn't gaslighting because I was telling the truth. Like, he was saying, like, did you say this thing? No, I didn't. And if he had to watch the video, he would know I didn't say this thing. So instead, he's using a comment from someone who's a troll, because they posted a bunch of trollish stuff on my channel. He's using that as evidence that I'm, like, lying. I'm like, well, no, like, if you went to the video, you can see exactly what I said. I never gaslighted. I never lied.
Interesting. Let's actually have a look at those screenshots, shall we? To click off the women are the problem video, which is what, let's have that open right now. Oh, fuck! Based on comments I'm getting, you've been going into our financial history in a recent video. Why? She says, nothing that we haven't talked about openly before on the likes of Metal Ass Gaming. People had asked about savings, and I explained I never set up a savings account of my own because we always just shared money rather than having yours and mine. Yeah, I mean, if that's true, then it's not gaslighting. What's this I'm hearing about me having all your stuff and you can't get it? She says not a clue, and that she didn't mention it in a recent video. Surely, like, you can just watch the video and then you would know, Jake. Surely if she was doing, or like, if she was actually doing this in the videos, why don't you just show the videos of her doing this? Probably because they don't fucking exist. But instead of showing the videos where she says this, he just shows some random troll comment replying to a user named Hail Satan. And that's it. That's the only piece of evidence he shows. What the fuck? Just show the video that the comment is on, you idiot. Oh, this guy sucks, man. Like, how can you defend something like that, man? Fucking gaslighting, and that's your evidence for it. It's pathetic. You might think women are the problem, but I think you are the problem. Tour dates? What the fuck is he going on tour for? Is he still doing music? Is that what it is? Or is it like, is he speaking now? Okay, so it's not like a political thing. He's still he's doing his music and shit, which is shite, by the way. But to be fair, most right-wing art, if you want to call it that, is shite. That's genuine, by the way. Like, I would urge you, real challenge here, can think of like one movie, one song, one album that is genuinely amazing and is also right-wing, or promotes like right-wing ideologies. A lot of people point to Wolf of Wall Street, but those people have no media literacy.
He said he broke up with me twice. The first time wasn't a breakup. The first time he said he needed space from me for a few days. It wasn't a breakup. It was, you know, like, us breaking up being a possibility was discussed, but that itself, like, we had the whole conversation, I had the whole freak out, like, I was panicking because, you know, like, I was being asked to leave my home and I was scared, but the conclusion we came to is it wasn't a breakup. I just needed to leave so he could have space for a few days, so I was going to have to go to the cold studio and sit in there and be scared and cold and upset while he figured whatever out. So yeah, him saying like he broke up with me that night, that's not what we discussed. It was discussed as a possibility, but it wasn't a breakup. He said he wasn't talking to Kat at this point.
Oh shit, if there's evidence to disprove this, then this is big. Because that's fucking huge, that.
I don't think that's true. I don't know for sure, because nothing I have was in text form to prove it. But I don't think that's true. It could have been after that night that this all happened, but I don't even know if I told him, so I don't even know if he knows that I know. But there was one point, he was downstairs, I was upstairs, he had left his iPad lying beside the bed, and something came up on the screen and I glanced down. And it was a fucking message from Kat, and not like a little like normal friendly one, it was something gross. He had posted some fucking gross thirst trap, and she had replied with something extremely inappropriate. Whenever Kat messaged, and I saw that pop up and it was something gross, I didn't open it, but I could tell he was replying because she would say something back, so I didn't know what he was saying. But I know they were having a conversation back and forth, and I know it wasn't appropriate, so he's trying to say that it eventually turned flirty? No. It was that way when we were still fucking together. And that night I went down, I was shaking, I didn't say I'd seen anything, like I said, I never opened those messages, so I don't know what he said, but I could tell it wasn't appropriate. And I went downstairs and I sat and I was like, look, I just have a bad feeling, which I often did, for a reason. I was like, have you been talking to anyone? Are there any girls you've been talking to? And he's like, no, of course not, oh my god, no, of course not. And I'm like, and usually I would have pushed it further. And stupid me. The reason I didn't push it further this time, even though I was really angry, the reason that I didn't push it more whenever he lied straight to my face and said he wasn't talking to anyone was because I was like, right, well, she is married and has a child, so I guess nothing's going to happen there. You know, it's not cool. I'm really angry that she's doing that, but she's married and has a child, so I guess nothing's going to happen there.
Fucking hell. That's brutal on both parts. So they're both cheaters. If this is obviously, yeah, sure, there's no direct, like, screenshot evidence of this. So, to an extent, I guess you can make of it as you will. Up for you to decide at this point, but I personally believe her. Not saying that it's a fact by any means, but I definitely lean towards believing her here. I think Jake has just lied about too many things, like verifiable lies here, to trust his judgment about any of this shit. And he's like completely unable to take responsibility for the shouting and stuff either.
Almost certain that that happened before the first time he threw me out. It could have been shortly after. I'm nearly certain it happened before, but I have no proof, so I can't confirm. The next bit, that I threatened to kill myself if he broke up with me. First of all, that's not how that happened. Before I even get into that, it is not in any fucking way okay. It is not in any fucking way okay that he has told potentially hundreds of thousands of people on the internet, like strangers on the internet, about me being suicidal. Like,
That's facts, by the way. Like, you don't make that shit. I've been asking this whole time, why do we need to know about this? But with that point in particular, it's not even why do we need to know about this, it's you should not be fucking saying this. Like, who do you think you are type shit. Like, you are a genuine, dangerous, horrible fucking individual, slimy little goblin creature for even thinking about outing that sort of thing to, I don't know, make yourself seem like a victim here? I'm the victim, but I'm outing and telling millions of people about, like, the most deeply personal, tragic, traumatic thought that a human being could possibly have without their consent. It's fucking diabolical, man. We haven't seen the clip directly from his video, so I guess we'll have a look at that. Now, I'm mad this is as well. I controlled F, and I typed in, like, suicide and like, kill herself and shit. Nothing came up, so I tried threaten, and I found it. And the reason I couldn't find it before is because he uses the word unalive. Just to add insult to fucking injury. Fucking unalive. Go fuck yourself, man. Unalive. You can say it's for monetization, sure. Was your plan to monetize this video? Where you talk about your fucking ex-wife's suicidal ideations? You want to make a quick buck off of that? You fucking piece of shit.
there's a little part of me that when he was away, you know, on his fucking tour, and I found hair, not a hair all over the fucking bed, her hair all over the bed and all over the sofa. I don't know how she's not bald with the fucking amount of hair that I found everywhere, and the fucking cum stains left on the sheet for me to find. I was left, he knew I had to go to that house while he was on tour to look after Sebastian. I had to be there to go and look after Sebastian, and it was my chance to sort through my stuff.
Sebastian is their cat, by the way, not like a human, just to make that clear. It's got a human name, which, whatever, right? It's just a cat.
Spend some time when I could actually have a shower and be fucking warm. He left her hair and cum stains on our fucking sheets, and he's like, oh, so it wasn't ours anymore. The breakup was still fucking fresh. My name was still on the lease. That was still my fucking house at that point. There was a time, and he tries to use it as like a weird gotcha later in the video, but this was something I was always going to bring up.
Also, that shit was intentional. No way was that unintentional. Like, he was doing that on purpose to fuck with her.
And he also tries to, like, make it all seem okay because he warned me before we got together that he had anger problems. You warned a 16-year-old girl that you had anger problems. Was I really meant to fucking comprehend what that would mean as a 16-year-old?
Yes, imagine at 24 years old, your husband is punching the door and yelling at you at the top of his fucking lungs for a whole day. And when you get annoyed at him, he goes, no, remember when we were 16 years old? Like 8 years ago, I told you that I'm an angry person. So this is fine. You should have expected it. It's just fucking unhinged behavior.
He's also talking about cameras that I didn't use. I was using them the whole time. I'm using it right now. The ones he gave me to do YouTube, which will come up shortly. The cameras he gave me, and I did use them. Yeah, I was eating. Shocking. The storage situation, and why my stuff was being stored in his garage, and why I couldn't get to it. It was never meant to be in his garage, because I couldn't get to it there without him being there, because he wouldn't give me a key to his garage because motorbikes were there, and he was still under some paranoid thing that was going to wreck his stuff. But that's the exact reason why he was never meant to put my stuff in his garage. I specifically asked him, there was a third studio, a completely empty one, in the building with all our other studios, that had like some boxes of clothes and stuff in it. I specifically asked him, whenever you're moving stuff out, put them there please, because then I would have access to them all times. I had a key to that room, I would be able to think the whole time I was living in the studio, I could have been in that room, sorting through my stuff, sorting it out, separating our things. I didn't want to be around him, but the only way I could access my stuff is if I was around him. If you try to say one box is mixed together, that's not true. Like, I still have boxes that do have things of his in them. I guess they're just not things he cares about. Him saying that Kat helped him go through my stuff, that's not fucking okay. I know he's trying to paint it as like a nice thing they did for me. He shouldn't have had her around my stuff without my consent. The laptop and the fucking camera. That's where all of the recent issues have come from. And he is lying through his teeth about that whole situation. The laptop and the camera are things I was given during our relationship. Especially the camera. I've been using this camera. It's the one I'm recording right now. I've been using this since 2020 at least. Maybe 2019. He knows that. The gaming laptop, I was the only one that ever used it. I used it for DDR and stuff. He got sponsored a much better one. So then the one that he bought was left to me so that I could continue my DDR. The things that he gave me, when he kicked me out of the house, my studio, like what was going to be my studio in the house, had like all my stuff in it, and there was a box of my YouTube equipment, my camera gear. This camera was in there. Another camera that he had given me, I don't remember the name of it, and a bunch of my other stuff, and maybe even the laptop. I can't remember if it was in that box or another one, but that was all sitting. I didn't have access to these things because, you know, he threw me out of my house. This camera's in there, other camera's in there. He went into that box of equipment, stole back that other camera that he had given me, that was at that point my property. He stole it back and just left.
And those are the most important parts from both of their breakup videos. There's a lot more to talk about though, unfortunately, regarding the breakup. We'll begin with a coverage of the breakup from a YouTuber called Kyla. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of her. She's also a commentary YouTuber. She's fucking great. If you enjoy my videos, you'll also enjoy hers most likely. So go show her some love. It was about 3 years ago when the breakup was still fresh. She made a deep dive on it, and the top comment is from Kaya herself. However, there is also a comment from Jake. Kaya was a toxic manipulator who was with me purely because I financially supported her. And you can even see the top comments on this Reddit, by the way, acknowledging that when they met, Jake was a fucking nobody. Kaya was the successful YouTuber at the start of their relationship. He was a fucking loser arsehole kid who got bullied a lot and was a fucking outcast. If she was this gold digger who only wanted money, the last person she would have dated is Jake Munro at 16 years old. Dude relied on her for the majority of their relationship and couldn't handle it when she wanted him to return the favor for her mental health. What a weak ass bitch. Yeah, absolutely. I think this must be it. This must be like the switch that turned him from goth YouTuber who was secretly a fucking arsehole to just outwardly racist, I hate women and minorities type person. Got some screenshots here from Kaya's mother that basically reiterate that Jake Munro cheated on her and then broke up with her whilst her mother was getting cancer treatment and whilst Kaya herself was waiting on results for a cancer test. And then, as we all know, again, Jake made Kaya homeless the night they broke up, and Kaya was still sick in bed and awaiting these cancer results. I'm not reading the whole thing, but the screenshots are on screen right now. And whilst that was all going on, by the way, immediately after, Jake eventually did go to Barcelona and was posting really tasteful things on his Instagram like this. What are you enjoying most on your current trip? To which Jake says, pussy, which is just bloody lovely. It's okay though. He goes on to specify that he's not paying for pussy. Your boy don't simp and your boy don't pay. He then says that he's washing the sex off of him from last night, and luckily for us, he took some pictures and videos if anyone would like to make an offer. He then posted a picture of him holding Kat's hand, Kat being his current partner, and this is also Kat's husband at the time, who also might have got cheated on here, if everything's true, which I do believe it is, saying that they don't work at the same tattoo parlor anymore. I don't think Kat works there anymore. Dean, the husband's name, now owns it alone. Yeah, here we go. After her notice has been fulfilled, Kat Payne will no longer be a member of or affiliated with Hidden Hands Tattoo Studio. Her name's Kat Payne. Wow. That you know what? That makes perfect sense, because after this whole situation, all that Jake Munro has been left with is pain. Having a look at the sort of goth subcultures here as well now. This shit is so cool, man. I fucking love goths. I think they're wicked. Yo, big up all the goths watching this channel, by the way. I'm sure you're great. Let's have a look at some of this red pill content then, shall we?
Proud white man. Indiscriminately racist, but that's my business. One thing is for certain. There is a growing amount of people who support what I'm talking about, who support where I'm going with what I'm doing here on YouTube. I am putting together, I am encouraging a red-pilled alternative movement. I don't like politics. I'm not a political person. But there are certain groups out there, very powerful groups, that insist on these qualities, these things, these ideologies be present and be qualifiers for being part of subcultures, and I cannot abide by that, so I have to become political, or anti-political actually. I want things to go back to the way they were before these freaks infiltrated this entire thing and made it all about them and the shit that they care about. Do you remember when Goth was about the music?
Remember when Goth was about the music? Yeah, Goth, a lot of the time Goth was about the music. But what was the music about? It was politics. Like, the reason that Goths connected with quote-unquote Goth music is because of the anti-establishment messaging that a lot of it had.
Going to be spearheading and encouraging this new movement to counteract, to remove this mire that seems to have descended upon all of these subcultures. I want it removed. I want it to go back to the way things were, because this is all new. Don't buy this, it was always political bullshit, because it's bullshit, and I've debunked that, I think, 3 times. So here's my proposal.
He's not debunked dick, man. Unfortunately for you, being goth is political. Like, there's not... Most things are political. In fact, I'd wager to say that pretty much everything is political. For anyone who thinks that goth isn't political, go to fucking Saudi Arabia as a woman in a complete, like, goth outfit. outfit. The fact that you are allowed and able to express yourself in that manner in a country that is westernized, in the ones that I and statistically you live in, is inherently political. The fact that I am able to make this video and put it out on the internet without the risk of censorship is political. A kid's stupid fucking finger painting that means nothing is political. Because how many kids don't have access to paint? How many kids are unable to experience that innocence that finger painting was derived from because they have to become man of the house at fucking 3 years old because of the poverty-stricken household that they're growing up in whatever impoverished country they happen to live in? Yeah, if you're immune to critical thought, the finger painting means nothing. So I guess it makes sense why this guy thinks being goth isn't political.
Listen to them to believe what they believe in order to continue enjoying the subculture because it's in their sweaty, fat hands. Once I see that you're doing this,
I don't understand. What does he think being goth is? Having dyed hair and listening to loud music with electric guitars? Is that what he thinks the whole fucking culture is about? The plonker. Jake just became the goth Charlie Kirk. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that one, to be honest with you. And we got this video here. What happens to women? I wonder, let's see what happened to women, shall we?
now it is interesting how there does seem to be a drastic difference between men's political ideologies, actually how they act within these ideologies, both left and right, and also the amount of women going into leftism and liberalism, and in fact, how they act within liberalism, because it is different. You know, you have a liberal man and you have a liberal woman. Statistically speaking, they do behave differently within these things. So if most women, or if most liberals are women, this psychological study here, which I have already discussed, would suggest exactly what we're seeing in their behavior. That left-wing authoritarianism, LWA, is higher in personality traits like the dark triad: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. Basically what I'm saying is, women, narcissistic women affected by dark triad personality traits, have infested Goth and made it all about them. They want to say it's all about the ideology, it's all about the politics, but this is purely just an extension of this graph right here. They're not tolerant of anything or anyone who does not agree with this. So they're not actually individuals, which is what Goth is actually about. They're actually just a communist collective. I said on Twitter, never underestimate the female ego. Now this isn't like a male ego whose existence of which is presumed. The male ego is presumed, which is why they hate men so much. They presume a man has a gigantic ego. They hate this about a man because a man is right. A man is right to have an ego.
We made everything. Who made you? Who did you come out of? Who do men come out of? Like, yeah, men play a part in creating a human being, but women do the fucking hard bit. Also, what the fuck have you made, Jake Munro, other than shit music and fucking terrible political videos and TikTok reactions? You don't have the right to have the ego of Alexander Fleming, for example, who made penicillin. Just because you're the same gender as someone who's done something good, that doesn't mean you have the right to have an ego about it. You're also the same gender as fucking Hitler. Men have made a lot of things, they've destroyed a lot of things as well, pal.
You've got these women who are chasing trends as Goth, which is unbelievably antithetical to the entire Goth ethos anyway. Wearing the same Ankh belts as each other.
Oh, so chasing trends isn't a Goth thing to do. I thought it was just about the music. So it seems as though Goth does mean something, but only when those things are things that you align with. The second someone says Goth is something that you don't agree with, oh no, Goth, it's just about the music. Why are you complicating things, man?
They all buy from the same Sheen outlet. I like capitalism. I think Goth and capitalism go together. It's a very performative thing, isn't it? Like TikTok, you see women all the time filming themselves doing altruistic things. Instead of just doing the altruistic thing, they film it instead. They have to put it out there. Look at me, look what I'm doing. But Jake, you're doing the exact same thing, am I? See, some could argue that by doing this within the Goth subculture is a fantastic way to get yourself ostracized by the entire subculture I have aligned with for the last 20.
This guy's gone fucking insane. Like, he's actually gone insane. This here is the type of woman that he's criticizing in this video, by the way.
Goth is not political, and you cannot physically, like literally cannot exclude conservatives and MAGA goths from the subculture, because as we've all read here, it's not yours. It's for everyone who enjoys these same core themes that is represented with.
There's no better way to get engagement than to just rage bait Goth, okay? Goths are just gonna flood the comments. I'm making a video about it, so let's just be aware of what it is and what he is doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Says it was a hard watch. He said some points that were like, oh, well, if Goth comes from punk and punk is anti-capitalist, then why are all the Goths now wearing Killstar and Sheen and fast fashion, blah, blah, blah. Look, we have issues in the subculture that we are currently addressing. So what I don't like is when you take a little tiny bit of truth and then you conflate it with your own weird opinions that are clearly rage bait and just like ignoring the reality of the subculture.
Yeah, I mean, he brings up the core, like, traits or whatever. Like, you can be goth if you agree with the core traits, but conveniently, he never says what those core traits actually are. Which I'm sure if he had to, he would just say, oh, you listen to the fucking The Cure and Joy Division and you wear black. I'm done with that. I want to watch Women Are the Problem. That is the one I want to look at.
I figured you out. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. I got it. I got you figured out.
What was that camera angle? It's like the cameraman just died and the video's still recording and he doesn't give a fuck.
Mamdani won, or New York lost, I guess. Look, we have our own commie here in the UK we're dealing with, except our commie runs the entire f***ing country, okay? We're a couple of years ahead of you. You have all of this to look forward to. New Yorkers. Spoiler alert, it f***ing blows. The reason why I'm bringing up this grinning piece of shit here is because his victory wasn't at the hands of some election fraud like Biden.
Alright, so he's just completely not living in reality. This is what I mean, like, they call leftists all emotional and shit. They say that women have these massive egos and that they can't handle things logically. But the right are the biggest fucking babies in the world, especially the ones who are literally unable to acknowledge that Trump fairly lost the 2020 election. It's like they're not living in reality. It's just complete fan fiction. They're living in a fucking fan fiction and it's ridiculous. I can't even be asked to watch that video, man. Because if you're not able to acknowledge that if you're not even able to acknowledge the results of an election, then why should I listen to you in any way, shape, or form? If you guys want me to watch more of this guy, like this actual red pill content, give me a shout in the comments because I will gladly do it for a video. But for now, I think we've been here long enough. I think we've covered the story of this guy. I think it's very good that he is nowhere near as successful as he used to be, but the fact that he has any success at all and he's doing like this whole pretentious Andrew Tate wannabe bullshit, I'd say he's grifting, but I don't know if he actually believes the things that he's saying. But regardless, it's very obvious that he's not living in reality. But just looking through this channel, there is so much that I could talk about here, but you know what? I'm gonna have to hold off because I've been recording for like 3 hours now. So as always, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe. Otherwise, once again, the cat gets it. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one, hopefully.